Hey folks, Dr. Mike here with Renaissance Periodization. Gee whiz, that's a hard 2 words to say. Weekly tip number 6, short, fast, to the point. And here it is. Should you weigh your food cooked or raw? Interesting. I wonder which way this plays out. So when you're counting macros, a lot of times cooked and raw have really different macros. When you're doing meats, veggies, grains, for whatever weight, or 50 grams of rice, it really depends on if it's raw or dry and or cooked. And the messed up thing is actually based on how you cook the rice, like how much water you pour in over the rice line, that actually plays a big role in how many macros even cooked has. So while raw is generally a very similar amount of macros, cooked can be really variable. So what do? There's a couple of things you can do to track properly. The first method is track only raw weights. This is ultra accurate. If you're preparing for a show and you're eating everything at home, that's probably your best bet. It's super accurate, but it doesn't work on the go or with pre-made food. So if you go to Chipotle and you're trying to get some amount of chicken, you only know the raw weight, you're not going to be like, hey, guy back there in the kitchen, can you weigh this shit raw for me? He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? No, we're not going to put raw anything on the scale. I don't even know if they have a scale in the back of Chipotle. Works really well when you're really tight and you want super precision, but that means you don't eat out or anything else like that. Method 2 is you track all your stuff cooked. That gives you a little bit more flexibility, and you can standardize your cooking as much as possible. So when you make rice at home, use the 2-finger rule or whatever, that much water. You cook the meat for a certain amount of time because the longer you cook meat, the smaller it gets weight-wise, but the protein amount is the same. So it really is a huge mindfuck. So the best thing to do is to, in this case, if you're choosing to track cooked food, just try to cook it more of a similar way all the time. You're accepting a higher level of variance with method 2, but sometimes it's worth it. If you eat out a little more often, you eat at a friend's house here and there, you can still make more sense out of stuff. Here's the thing. Either method works, or both methods work, but don't do them at the same time. Pick one and stick to it for the duration of your diet. And if it was really too much work or a huge hassle or too much precision or not enough, you can change to the other method next time, right? People get screwed up when they do raw one meal, cooked one meal, raw one week, cooked the next, and then it's all over the place. Truth be told, though, at the end of the day, probably 0 people have ever failed to accomplish their goals on a diet, or worse, gotten fat, because they're like, yeah, man, the way I got to 600 pounds is I started this diet, and instead of weighing everything cooked, I did it raw, man. It fucked me up. No way. You get that way eating pizza and ice cream and all that other stuff. So if you're already eating good foods and you're taking a remote stab at an honest assessment of how much food is in front of you, you're going to do just great. If you're aiming for a bodybuilding show, peak physique, super striations, then yeah, you're probably going to do one of these 2 methods super, super well, and then it matters. And ideally, you do method number 1, where you track only raw weights. Folks, I've been Dr. Mike. See you next time.